Gwen, so many people are suffering from anxiety and stress, and I imagine that's probably one of the top things that people come in to see you for. What's going on?
Well, there's no doubt that from the beginning of time, people have felt anxiety and stress. But back in the early days, that was because of a threat to life, having to deal with the forces of nature, or being eaten by a lion. We have built into us a stress response that allows us to fight or flee so that we can save our lives. In present day, yes, you could absolutely have anxiety if a fire was approaching your town, or if your airplane's having engine trouble. But most of the anxiety I see is not about that. People are making themselves anxious with their own thoughts. These thoughts often start with what if. What if I don't get the job? What if I get laid off? What if he doesn't ask me out on a second date? And so these anxieties are something that the ego is doing to itself, makes up worst case scenario stories. And just like kids telling ghost stories around the campfire, when one part of the consciousness starts telling the other part scary stories, then the body is going to have a physiological response to that. But it's more than what's required in that situation, because we're not in a fight or flight mode. If you were in a situation like that, let's say there was a dog that looked threatening and you decided to run away, well, your adrenaline's pumping and that's helping you to run fast to get away. But if you're worried that he might not return your call, and then all this adrenaline is pumping, but you're not going anywhere, and then you just start to shake, like an engine that's being pushed too hard and it just starts to vibrate. So I think that's a good starting place to look at this topic.
What are some steps that you would recommend taking to alleviate the anxiety, or find a different way to handle it, I guess?
Yeah, that is the question. And there are many different components to the work that I do. On a simple level, we can use cognitive behavioral therapy and help people to see that worst case scenarios generally don't happen. We can do relaxation therapy. We can teach people to press delete whenever a worry thought is coming, or to immediately replace that negative thought with a positive thought, because with most anxiety, we're making up scary stories. And I tell my clients, if you're making up stories anyway, why not make up a good story? And then there's a deeper level where I am sometimes working with anxiety. When I work with clients, I look at the body, the mind, and the soul. And sometimes it's the stuff of life that's creating stress. But sometimes it's the life itself, where the way I put it is that a person may be not living in alignment with their highest self or their soul. And it might be like if you stay in a hotel and you sleep, but it's just not your bed, you don't rest that well. Well, if you're in this lifetime, and because of the way that you've been brought up, or societal expectations or pressures you put on yourself, you're living a life according to what you think you should be doing or what others want you to do, then you're out of alignment with the core of your being. And that is going to create distress and unhappiness, and if people aren't aware that that's what's happening, they can feel just this vague generalized anxiety and not really know what's going on, but they're just, I think sometimes the soul taps us on the shoulder and says, yeah, we're about halfway through this lifetime, maybe it's time to wake up and be who you came here to be.
And would you say our society feels very reactive at times, and I guess I'm associating reactiveness with anxiety. Have you noticed anything in that regards?
Absolutely. With the internet, with news services, everybody can know what's going on everywhere, all at the same time as it's happening. And then also with technology and with the demands that are made on us, where somebody sends you an email or a text and they expect a response right away, and then you've got 10 people who are doing that, and then everything really speeds up. And what happens is this takes us into our left brain, where we're analyzing and we're doing, and takes us away from the quietness of our own soul. There gets to be so much chatter in the world that we are out of touch with our soul. And sometimes people will tell you that they're the happiest when they're just lying on a beach or hiking in the mountains or sitting by a lake. And nature is very powerful in terms of drawing that soul consciousness within us to the surface. So we can sit in a place like that and say, oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Well, what's really beautiful is what you're feeling inside you. And that's why we can look at a picture and we say, oh, that's a nice picture. But when you're actually in nature, that wonderful feeling that you have inside is because nature is mirroring your soul.
So then people would reevaluate their life and the choices they have made, practice, I think you said thought stopping.
Yeah, if they choose to. I believe that we have many lifetimes, and some people have been repeating old patterns lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Lives of pain and struggle and frustration, and they come into this lifetime and why doesn't anything ever work out for me, and they keep attracting more and more negative, and maybe they've got a few more lifetimes of that to do. On the other hand, in order to break an old pattern, we first have to be aware of it. So if one has had many lifetimes of a negative pattern, you don't just step on this earth and start doing it the new way. You relive that old pattern, and then at some point in your life, you say, I just don't want this anymore. I really don't like this. I don't want to do this anymore. And at a kind of lower level, it's okay. I'm going to leave this person. I'm going to quit my job, and sometimes it's most appropriate to do that. But where the real growth comes is when we can recognize, okay, if I want to feel different, I have to release all of those old patterns, and I have to choose to live from a completely different mindset that's based on creativity and being in the moment and not letting the ego run old programs and not worrying what other people think, and recognizing that I think everything that exists Every living thing that exists on this earth starts with a seed. And in that seed is amazing potential. And so we start as a seed, but the things in nature, they don't have to think about what they're supposed to be. The rose in the garden doesn't have to think, what's my purpose? I wish I knew my purpose. Nor do they have to even ask for guidance, because everything they need is already within, and it's simply a matter of creating a safe, healthy environment so that we can blossom into the fullness of our being. And it's not about trying to be this or trying to be that. It's a slow process of just eliminating anything that is not that.
So even though anxiety doesn't feel good, it sounds like that's the blessing in having that feeling, is it's indicating something more is needed or to be changed.
Well, anxiety, if a person experiences that and then says, okay, I need to change this, I'm going to change this, then it's a catalyst for moving forward. But if they're not at that place yet, and they're still so very, very much fear-based, then it can be more and more struggle. So it's only if somebody chooses and is ready to see that struggle is an opportunity to transcend the old and create the new.
Thanks, Gwen.
Most welcome.